Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Pure Biology, and today's topic is the plant development. Generally, plants develop or plants life cycle that is completed in the two ways, or there are two phases. One is the sporophytic phase, another is the gametophytic phase, and the two phases that alternatively arise to complete the plant's life cycle. So that's why the plant's life cycle is known as the alternation of generation. Okay, so here the two types, first one is the sporophytic generation. There it begins when an egg nucleus unites with the sperm nucleus, producing an embryo, and second sperm nucleus that fuses with the polar nuclei, producing the triploid endosperm, and constitutes with the development of the seedling, mature plant and flowers. So in that condition, generally it begins with the unites of the two gametes. Okay, unites of the two gametes, this sporophytic generation will begin. And here the one male gamete that fuses with the egg nucleus, or another fuses with the polar nuclei. Okay, and to continue the process and to form the, in the first case embryo is formed, in the second case that endosperm is formed, and in that way the mature plant and flowers that will form. In case of gametophytic generation, here it characterized by the nutritionally independent extremely short haploid phase. This is the independent extremely short haploid phase and known as the gametophytic generation. So here I will just explain today the gametophytic generation, and sporophytic generation I will explain in my next video. Okay, so continue with my channel. This gametophytic generation, here what will happen, that gametes are produced. Okay, male gametes and the female gametes both are produced. So before the pollen is shed, a mitotic division into vegetative tube cell and generative cell gives rise to the two-celled gametophyte. That means here the pollen, and just after shedding that just before shedding, the mitotic division will start, and the pollen grain that divides into two nucleus or two nucleus containing cells. One is the generative cell and another is the vegetative cell. And now the tube cell, this is the first one, the vegetative cell, that guides the pollen generation and the growth of the pollen tube after the pollen lands on the stigma. So its role is what? That is vegetative tube cell, So what is the role of the tube cell? This tube cell actually guides to whom? Guides to pollen and pollen germination, obviously. Guides to pollen germination, and here the pollen tube growth occurring just after the pollen. When the pollen lands on the stigma of the carpel, the pollen tube formation that will be started, and that is directed by the vegetative tube cell. Now the generative cell. What is the function of the generative cell? This divides to form the two male gametes, and second mitotic division start here to formation or to form the two male gametes. Here the integumented ovule gives rise. Okay, so the two, first of all the pollen grain that divides into first mitotic division occur here, and in that way the vegetative tube cell and the generative cell form, and then vegetative tube cell functions to direct or to formation of the pollen tube. It helps to formation to form the pollen tube when the pollen lands on the stigma. And the generative cell, its function is that it divides again and to form the two male gametes. Clear? So here the second mitotic division occurs when the generative cell divides into two male gametes, or when the two male gametes will form the generative cell. Next is that here the integumented ovule, that is known as the megaspore. It divides to form the female gametophytes. So first condition that occurs for the formation of the male gametophyte, and here the second condition that occurs for the female gametophyte formation. And generally here the polygonum type embryo sac is formed in this female gametophytic condition. The polygonum type embryo sac is formed, and because why it is called its another name is the monosporic embryo sperm. Why? Because this is derived from only one integumented ovule. Clear? And that's why it is called the monosporic, and this is common for generally maximum plant's development process. And in that situation, what will form? That first meiotic division occur here and it divides to form the 2 cell. In the second meiotic division, it divides to form the 4 cell, and the third meiotic division here, the 4 cells from each 2 cells and 4 cells from each another 2 cells. That means 8-celled embryo sac formed here. But when the maturation is completed, there we can see that it is 7-celled embryo sac. Why? Because these two known as the polar nuclei, that fuse with each other, so form one single cell. That means here these 3 cells that containing 1 egg and the 2 synergids, and here the 3 cells that are all known as the antipodal cells, and the middle portion, the 2 cells, these are called the polar nuclei. Okay, so actually they fuse to form, so polar nuclei generally fuse to form diploid secondary nucleus. Now this gametophytic condition, the male gametes and female gametes both are formed, and this is explained here. So you continue with my channel for further explanation of the sporophytic generation. Okay, thank you.